Mr. Allen, welcome back to Keel. Let's start with that $1.8 billion headed to the state of Louisiana. Maybe we already have it, I don't know, from the federal government. And already is it kind of a tug of war about how this is going to be spent? Sort of bring us up to speed on all that money.
Well, there's not a tug of war. The rules are the rules. It's just that the governor sent out a little missive to local government last week with incorrect information on how the money was going to be spent. Yeah, I don't know why he tells people things that aren't true. I can speculate. I believe what he was trying to do. He sent things to local government telling them they were going to get more money than they actually were. And I think he was trying to set it up to where he could tell the locals that it was the mean Republicans in the legislature that took it away. But the fact is, the thing that he sent out was just full of incorrect information. So I don't know why he would do that, but he told them they were going to get money that they weren't going to get. He also was saying that he was completely in charge of how the money was spent, which is just simply not true. So, again, I don't know why he says things that aren't true and why he does things like that, but he does.
So is 45% of the money going to go to local and parish governments?
I have absolutely no idea. I think we're taking those bills up on the floor on this afternoon. Excuse me.
Are you voting for that? Are you voting for 45% of the money to go to local and parish governments?
I can't answer that yet because I need to see a little more specifics. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I think some of it should, but there's some specifics that we need to see before we get there. And again, whatever is spent and however it is spent, it'll be done by the legislature through the legislative process. It's not, the governor doesn't get to decide.
Let's get to that because I saw a couple of social media posts this weekend by both you and State Rep Dodie Horton. And it's your feeling, and I'm sure the feeling of other conservative-leaning legislators, that the governor is trying to is he overstepping his bounds in how he wants this money to be distributed?
Again, is he overstepping? Yes. It's the why that I can't really figure out because I don't know why he would go public with something that he, I believe, knew was untrue. And I think he was trying to set the legislature up so that he could come back when the locals didn't get what he told them they were going to get, so he could turn them against the Republicans in the legislature, I guess. I mean, I can't speculate as to why he would do that. Maybe he can't read. Maybe he didn't understand what the rules were and he thought he was telling the truth. He was just mistaken. That's possible.
Come on. Can't read. Come on. You're being a little harsh now.
Okay, that's correct. Maybe the people that work for him can't read and don't understand because the law is pretty clear. And maybe he's getting bad advice. Let's put it that way. As far as why, I have absolutely no idea.
Senate Bill
Was he incorrect? Was he incorrect? Yes, absolutely. There's really no doubt about the fact that what he sent local governments was not accurate.
Senate Bill 189 tries to divert $200 million of the money from the CARES Act to a small business loan program. If that's such a great idea to set up a small business loan program, let's take it from the money that's going to the state. Let's not take it from the money that's going to local governments, which is what this bill does now. In favor of that idea? Do we need that small business loan program in place?
All right, let me twist that on you for a second. I would rather the money go to the businesses that were shut down than the government. No matter whether it comes from the state or from the locals. Governments have been hurt, but governments have deliberately hurt small business. So I would divert every penny of it to businesses and people that have been hurt by this whole shutdown. The governments did it to themselves. And if they shut themselves down and if they suffer for it, so be it. But the businesses didn't shut themselves down. They were ordered to be shut down by the government. So as far as I believe it is the government's responsibility to make that right and to make them as whole as possible. So, I believe first $200 million is probably not enough. Mm-hmm. I believe every penny of it should be directed to rehabbing these businesses. I mean, every day I get another story of a business, a restaurant, or something like that in our area that's not going to reopen. I mean, I've heard as many as 15 to 20% of the, quote, tourist-based restaurants in New Orleans are never going to reopen. We have deliberately devastated the economy of the state. We had to go put on a pretty good fight last week with the fire marshal's office to get the Hot Wheels skating palace in Bossier open. Because, I mean, they didn't fall within, this fire marshal was saying they didn't fall within one of the restrictions, and they clearly did. And I mean, one of the exemptions. And so, I mean, this whole thing is just ridiculous. Every day I get emails from business owners saying, I can't make it at 25%, or my business is one that they haven't reopened yet. This is ridiculous. If you go to Home Depot and Lowe's and grocery stores, they're absolutely packed. And if those businesses can be packed, then so can skating rinks and other businesses. It does not make any sense.
Mr. Allen, speaking of businesses open, pardon me, reopening, we're just a couple of days away. And in fact, today may be sort of one of the reassessment days, but the phase two day will be on us in just a couple of days. What are you hearing behind the scenes? What do you speculate the governor's next move for businesses across the state's going to be?
He really hadn't sent a lot of signals as to whether he was going to move to phase two, other than some speculation that certain hurdles had to be met, like there had to be a vaccine before he would completely reopen, which is ridiculous because there may not ever be a vaccine. I mean, you can't hide from this thing forever. And so it's, as far as any insight, I have absolutely no idea. He sent out signals before in going to phase one and then didn't do what he told us he was going to do. So I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to his quote-unquote signals. But look, again, I put something on Facebook this morning about the status of the reopening petition. We're 15 or so signatures short of being able to go execute that and end the state of emergency. Several people came up to me last week and said if he doesn't go to phase two on schedule, which I believe would be next week, if he doesn't go to phase two on schedule, then I'll sign. So we might be able to put an end to all this foolishness on our own.
Let me ask you about that because he went out and said, "Oh, this would be a horrible mistake. You guys we would not get federal money. We would no longer get federal help." Is that BS?
It's a complete BS. Garrett Graves actually went out and did a video explaining why that was completely untrue. He called it fear-mongering. There was absolutely no basis in fact whatsoever. That was, we're going to cancel LSU football and throw your grandmother out of the nursing home type stuff. It is a massive misinformation campaign to try to keep people from taking away the power. So, my petition that I'm circulating would end the state of emergency. Blake Miguez introduced a resolution that would have left the state of emergency in place, just taking away all of the governor's enforcement powers, which actually that idea was launched from the loss of federal funds argument. If people are worried about losing federal funds because of the emergency, fine. Let's leave the state of emergency in place. Let's just take away his ability to do anything about it. I actually thought that was a pretty good compromise. But when he went to phase two, it made it out of committee. Excuse me. When he went to phase one, the bill didn't move off the House floor.
So
that pretty much ended.
In a word or two, if on the phase two date, if the governor for whatever reason decides phase one will remain in place, are you saying that your legislative proposal that was sort of shelved earlier is back in play?
All right. First of all, I never shelved it. People stopped signing it. And it's technically not legislative. It does not have to go through the legislative process. It was designed for a situation which the legislature was not in session, so it can be done at any time. And the answer is yes. If I get 53 signatures, I will execute on it the next day, and we will have no more state of emergency, and all of this will fall to the local, and there'll be no statewide state of emergency. It would fall to parish presidents and local mayors to regulate the reopening or the restrictions within their areas. And it would take the state completely out of the process. That's been my goal from the beginning because there's no reason that we should hold, Shreveport and Sabine Parish and Winfield to the same standard as New Orleans. If New Orleans is having their issues reopening, fine. Let the local government in that area manage it. But we have multiple parishes in North Louisiana that have had no hospitalizations for weeks, and it's not really an issue. And so Winfield should not be held to the same standard and stay closed until New Orleans gets its act together. It doesn't make any sense. So that's been my goal all along.